Let's go ahead and talk about something else. We always chop it up about 40 acres and a mule. Child, in California, a task force has voted that reparations should be handed out to Black people and former descendants of enslaved people. I mean, I don't know how this is going to happen, but California's first in the nation task force on reparations, they voted on Tuesday to limit state compensation to the descendants of free and enslaved Black people who were in the US in the 19th century, narrowly rejecting our proposal to include all Black people regardless of lineage. This is so interesting and such a complex decision and idea. Mike, where do we begin and end with this? I turn to you, my brother.
Whew, I'm all over the place. I
Okay.
will say though, first I will say that they are limiting reparations to the descendants of slaves and people with direct lineage to Black people in the United States in the 19th century. So if your peoples was here and they was free, you still qualify. If you're an immigrant, you don't. I think this is how reparations work, man. You know what I'm saying? Like when the U.S. I don't even want to pick out individual people because y'all be so weird, but this is how reparations always works. It's real specific, man. It has to be the people that were harmed. That's not to say that the experience of Black folks that come to America from other countries has been great. No, it hasn't. But there can be something else to be done to combat the experience of those folks, man. Slavery was a really specific period in time. And for those of us who are the descendants of slaves, like reparations should be coming our way. We built this country. I really I don't understand the argument to the contrary. I will say there are people that say that the way that it's worded would make it unconstitutional and it would leave the reparations themselves to be open to a challenge in court that they would likely lose. But to that, I would say, I mean, look, man, if we want to do reparations for Black folks, then we have to do it the right way. If we're not going to do it the right way, then don't do it at all. And we'll just keep pushing the way that we've been pushing. But if we're going to do it, then we need to do it. And it got to be 100%. And you should absolutely have to be a descendant of slaves to receive reparations for slavery.
Listen, I am with Harry Jefferson 100% on this. This is about to get super messy. How are we going to know if our ancestors, if we are descendants of
It's,
enslaved people from the 19th century?
it's not as hard as you think, Julia, Harry. I'm telling y'all, because there's actually databases where you can put your name in, and they do a pretty good job of trying to track it down. I will also point out to people, man, look, slavery isn't as far away as the media wants to make us think it is. Like it was just this super distant thing, and none of us, man. My great grandma died 8 years ago now. Yo, she grew up on a sharecropper's farm. She dropped out of school in the 6th grade because she had to go pick cotton. Like that's where our family
Yeah, that's
still
true.
was.
You're right. The lineage is not that far
It's
ago.
right. It's right there. It's right there. She was supposed to be our first generation to not work the fields, and she made it to 6th grade and got called back. But that is the same plantation that we were on during slavery. And after we became free and didn't have nowhere to go, we just kept working for the family that had owned our family. And that's a story of a lot of African Americans. So if you Black, hit your grandma or hit your mom, and if you go back a couple generations, I promise you'll be right back in the South. That's how it is for a hell of a lot of us.
It's funny. I'm with Santana on this, where he says white people gonna start claiming Black family members now. Listen, people gonna start claiming Black lineage right now, and
Hey, they
I
are.
ain't even mad at them.
Oh,
Listen, it's
it's
gonna be
gonna
like
be
this.
messy.
It's gonna
You
be
know it's you know it.
super
You know
messy. Oh,
you
that
know.
like first of all, what does the application and paperwork look like to get the reparations started? What is the process in terms of submitting your application to get your reparations? Now, I'm in agreement with you, Mike, here that hopefully it's not too hard to trace back. I'm wondering where this funding is going to come from, considering inflation is at an all-time high, and how often are we going to get this check? How much is the check going to be? how much percentage of black do you
For
need
real.
to check?
And do I
When,
need to move to California immediately so I can go get mine? Because that is only a
hello,
California thing.
listen, because I listen, all my family's in San Diego, baby. I could get that address ASAP. Period.
And,
I don't
and
know.
Harry Jefferson makes a good point though in the comments, and you're right. Like, not even the black folks that was not slaves, the ones that escaped. Like, bro, you're right, and that's the reason why the language says if you're a descendant of enslaved black people or a descendant of black people living in the U.S. in the 19th century, that was that distinction. If your family somehow got freedom, you're still in the mix to get the money. Uh, I, I think everybody is gonna be trying to be black as soon as this hits.
Santana
As
is
soon as it hits.
wow.
As soon as
Santana
it
is
hits.
wow. He says, I'm dark as hell. I deserve 2 checks. Listen, stop what you doing. I
Man, I just hope it works. I hope it works. It's hard to believe that white folks would actually let this happen, but man, man,
listen, they
man.
better let my light skin ass get a check, okay? They better not come through and be like, well, sis, your bloodline, the blood test, and the
Look,
this
see,
and that.
man, yeah, see, I
Don't
don't
do
know,
it.
Julian, man. I don't know if you're gonna qualify.
That's
You
what I'm
you might,
saying. I need to know what the
you might, yeah.
credentials are. I'm
They're
about
gonna be
to
trying to divide your check up.
it's given maybe. Not my there, the history of my family. My mom used to tell me that her great great grandfather was passing, and so nobody knew that Papa was black because he looked white, and so he would go to work and he would play as a white man in order to continue to pass, and he served in the military and everything. So when you look at him, I mean, he looks just like my brother, a little bit more fair than my brother, but he did a lot of things to pass. And there are a lot of African American people who were light enough to pass and went ahead to pass. And there was a lot of struggle in that as well, right? Because while you're assimilating into white culture to blend in to kind of maybe accelerate and elevate your family, there's so much risk in that because you're not yourself, right? And you have to kind of you never get to enjoy what black culture is during that time period. And so he never got to really share and be around his black family because he had to live and act like a white man. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of things in that.
I've
It's
read about families like that continue, that like had a white passing person and then another white passing person, and then like down the line they just kind of end up being
white.
white folks. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about, but it's a thing.
That is a thing.